right, hey everyone, welcome back to the live stream tonight. We're going to be working in the back of the Ford Transit, and we're going to give you guys an update of what's happening in here. So the last couple streams have been talking about working on this window cutout, doing the extension or the window pill from AVC rig and the outer panel. So we're going to kind of temporarily rough in that sandwich of a install, and then I say sandwich because there's a multiple layers, and I talked about it a lot depending on if we're talking about the floor or the window, so that's a good thing. And then so we're going to talk about that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to move and show you on this side how we actually laid it out. Now there was a short video just going over some highlights, but tonight we're actually going to do it. We're going to live tonight measure this out, show you where on this center member to locate your AW1033 window. It can be the same. It can be the same process for a bunk window. So if you're using like a regular slider or a half slider, all the same principles still apply. So I'm going to show you how to find out where you want to put it, center it, and then on a Ford Transit, these ribs we have to cut out. So I'll talk to you about the tool that we're going to use to do that. This is the best one to use, in my opinion. So we're going to go over that. So you'll see how this got created up till this point, and then when we put together the window pill extension and our interior panel, which is on the other side of the table there, all you'll have to do is just replicate that when you upholster it. Now we're doing this temporarily up here for a couple reasons. One, we need to ask the customer where they want the reading light. So we have a reading light that we're going to install. I'm also going to show that to you as well. So it's just one off of Amazon. It's the one where you can not only have a white light, a red light for nighttime, but it also has a USB port at the bottom to charge your phone. So that's pretty cool. So I got a battery. It's dead right now. I'm actually charging just like a little mini test battery, and I'll show you what the colors look like on this. So we'll do that a little bit later. Yeah, but we're essentially trying to figure out the best place to mount this light, because our panels are 1/4 inch thick. Now they're not structural panels, so they're not made to have anything bolt into them. However, if they are reinforced on the back, then you can put something like this. This is not very heavy. I just want to make sure when they're using it that the board's not flexing. Everything is very rigid. So if we put a piece of wood on the back and glue it and then bolt this into it, that's going to give it a nice spine so that it doesn't have any flex to it. That way we can drill and cut and do our stuff on the panel and find out where we're putting this before we go ahead and upholster it, and because we don't want to mess up the upholstery, because we're pretty much at that point. As soon as this goes in, we're ready to upholster this section of the van, and this section will be checked off, and then we'll just copy and paste it over here. So that's what we're doing tonight, locating the window. If we have time tonight, I'm not sure how late we're going to be streaming live in the shop, but it's possible that I may, depending on how many questions you guys have and how engaged everybody is, I may actually start to cut the window out. So yeah, we'll see. We're going to talk about that. We'll definitely cut out these pieces. So these are the structural supports that are removed so that you can have a flat surface. So this piece right here is actually cut out, removed, and that allows you to have that flat mounting surface for your awning style window. And then we're going to talk about some hardware. So we've got some stainless washers that we have painted, and then we're going to go through our hardware that we're actually using to mount the AW1033 window. I actually drill and tap these windows so that I have multiple screws that I can clamp down very gradually and get a really excellent seal on here. If you use the screws that come with the kit, it's very challenging to know if you've over tightened it or even stripped the window. And if you do strip it, you're going to have to, it just gets more complex where you'd have to drill another hole into the window frame and it might not look, right. So I didn't want anything to happen like that. So my experience, what I've done on other vans, I drill and tap these windows and then they can nicely, slowly clamp in. Since this one is in its home, its final position, we got it taped on the outside so it's not going to move. We've checked the clearance up here at the top, and in just a minute when I bolt this, I'm going to move the camera. We've checked our clearance up top and bottom to make sure the window is not crooked. So it's right where we want it to be. We're going to clamp it down, and we're actually going to put Loctite, blue Loctite on these screws to hold it in, so we don't have to ever worry about it coming undone. So we're going to do that, and then what else do I have in here? The Loctite that we're using is blue 242. You guys can see that. Yeah, so let's see if I can find. All right, so I was using two different style screws. So let's go ahead and, all right, let's see if there's anything else I wanted to show you guys. We've got our new box of window peels down here that you can't see. So we're going to open this, and this one is going on this side. We also have our template that we created in a video a long time ago. We'll talk about this if you guys have any questions. And let's see, what was the last thing on my mind? So you take the bar off, and I think it's pretty much it. We're just really getting this stuff knocked out tonight. Oh yeah, because tomorrow, fingers crossed, we have our scheduled delivery for our pneumatic cooling 48-volt rooftop air conditioner unit. So we've been waiting for that one to come back because it is it's getting shipped very, we're going to be one of the first ones hopefully to actually get that in, which will be really cool. And we need it in because we have two mounting locations on the roof. We're using the Exploris.life roof rack. And the MaxxFan location and the air conditioning location are very close to each other. So before, this is my advice to you as well, before you cut any holes out on the roof, even if you're a professional, have the equipment in your hand and mock it up on top of the roof. Don't assume anything. So we're going to put the air conditioning in its spot. The air conditioning can't move. So technically, I could have already cut the hole out, but again, I want to triple check how it is going to fit with the MaxxFan and then what adjustment we have on that. But yeah, we'll actually know tomorrow afternoon. Depending on time, I might be able to do a live stream on that. So stay tuned for all the future live streams. But that's pretty much it. So that's what we're going to do in this live stream. The first thing we're going to do is realign the camera so you guys can see me put these screws in, and actually the part of making sure that the frame is not crimped anywhere and it's not overlapping, because there is a little bit of technical stuff that happens right here to make sure that you got a really good seal. So we've got our screws. I need to pick up the other set of screws. Where are they? There you go. So I have two different lengths of screws. All right, let me move the camera, so hold on. If we have anybody that's returning to the live stream, remember you guys can ask any question van related as we start working on these projects tonight. So just remember that. Let me move the camera. Perfect. Also, we have some new audio equipment that we're using tonight. So I've tested it out a bunch before I actually started the live stream, but if you guys hear anything weird, just type it in the chat and I can make sure I take care of it. I think it's going to sound pretty good. Remember, any questions, put those in the chat. This is going to be a pretty long live stream, which is pretty exciting. Get to see a van built live. All right, so what I do to drill out these holes, drill and tap these holes, is we use a tap set for a M4 bolt. So we have two, let's see, this is a M4 by 0.7, M4-0.7, and I have two sizes here. And I'll explain why, because it depends on your situation. So this box is the old box I had for the van that we did behind me. Some vans, for example, like if you're doing adventure wagon and other vans, you may have a outer frame that goes behind your awning window. And for the Flatline Vanco, there was a bump out frame designed to give you a clean transition between the spacing of the adventure wagon thermoform bump out and the window itself. So you wouldn't have this weird gap between the window and the panel and have it moving in and out. Now some people don't care and they just have this little seam where you can kind of see into the insulation. I'm not a big fan of that, so I don't do that. So the frame is going to have to give you, it's taking up space inside the awning window frame, the one that comes from CRL. So you have to accommodate for that. So if you have a Flatline Vanco outer frame extension, so this is just to give you a nice neat opening, you're going to want to go with a 16 millimeter long screw. So again, for the Flatline Vanco frame that's adjustable, you're going to want to do an M4-0.7 by 12 millimeter, by 16 millimeter screw. Today, we are doing a normal, what pretty much 99% of everybody does, and we are bolting this window to the sheet metal of the van. This is the most typical way you're going to see this installed. So for that, we are going with a shorter screw, and we are using a M4-0.7 by 12 millimeter screw. What that's going to do is that's going to allow us to not bottom out on our window frame when we tighten everything down. So when I first test fitted this in, I bottomed out and I was kind of wondering why. It's because that extra frame that I had that was actually glued to the van was taking up the difference. So that's what we're going to do. The easiest way to start this process is first we're going to get rid of the wrong bolts and make sure we got the right bolts to work with. And we need to make sure we got the right Allen wrench as well. And I'm going to repeat a lot of the process in this video because some people may not have no idea what's happening over here. So if it looks like we've spray painted around this, we have. So that is our matte black Krylon Fusion paint. It's a paint primer in one and rust preventative as well. And we tape off the outside of the van so that we don't overspray. And then we go in and we put 2 coats on the inside of the van. And I do it really heavy on these parts that are sticking out down here because you need to make sure that you get the back side of it. You'll have to remember, even with the best insulation, you may have some condensation between this surface and the exterior of the van. And that's because this is the first point of contact where the heat inside the van is meeting the sheet metal, and it can condense right here. So Ford vans, the whole entire van is dipped, and there can actually be condensation inside. There's actually drain holes so that if it gets too crazy, it drains out. So you just got to think about that. Make sure that everything is rust preventative really well, because once you put the insulation on in your wall panel, you can't go, but you'll never see behind here if you're actually, rusting up. So something to think about. Also, we have these M8-1.25 by 20 millimeter bolts. And if you have the ABC Rig wall panel kit, they have these bolts up here, and they're reusing the Ford Transit factory bolting locations. So this would be for like construction equipment or electrical or plumbing type stuff. For those installs, there's actually nut inserts already put into the van, spot welded into the van. ABC Rig actually has cutouts for that, because you may want to put L-track up here. You may want to put a bookshelf or some type of rack. And these holes, we are reusing them. So these top 3 holes right here are going to be used to actually bolt in. We're going to use a fender washer, and this is going to bolt in the panel. Now what I'm going to do later is I'm going to build a shelf up here, and I will reuse these bolts to create that shelf bracket. So I'll probably use a piece of angled aluminum or something like that. So we'll drill out the panel. Well, the panel's already drilled out. We'll drill out the aluminum, put that aluminum angle up here, and then bolt it down. And then now we have a surface that we can sit our shelf on and then work off of. But that's just to give you an idea of, just for your notes, that these factory Ford hole locations, the thread pitch it's an M8 bolt. It's a 1.25 pitch, so the thread pitch, and then it's 20 millimeters in length. You can make it as long as you want. I'm just starting with 20 millimeters because that's all I need to hold the panel in, and then if I need something bigger later, I'll just get it. Now there's 3 on this side, there's 3 on this side. There are, let's see, there are 2 on the bottom side, there's 2 down here, 2 up top on the driver's side, and then I think 2 on the bottom. So there's not many, but it's something to think of if you wanted to mount L-track down here and up here. Think ahead, because once you get the panels on, it'll be impossible to find where these holes are if you're doing your own custom panels. All right, so let's get back to what we were doing. Probably should have taken all these out of the pack, but I just got back to the shop, so. The shop that I get my all my nuts and bolts from, they're on vacation for 2 weeks for Christmas, so these are Home Depot special. So there's 2 in a bag. Okay, so each frame, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We need 15 screws, so 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's see. Okay, I think we got one more bag back here. Let's pick it up. All right, we got 2 bottles of Loctite. It's a 242. Now we use this, this was from the roof rack install. So this is just a little bit leftover Loctite for that. See, the wrench we're using is I think it's a 3mm Allen wrench for these bolts. The first thing I do is I go ahead and I just put these in here. Put them in here loose. And then I'll actually come back and tighten them up. There's a inner frame and this outer frame, and you need to make sure that you don't put it on top of it, because when you bolt it down, you'll hear it pop, and it won't be in the right position. So just a heads up on that. Now we do have just tape holding this on the outside, but now that we have these screws in here, we're much safer now. This window's not going to fall out of the van. That's you wouldn't want that to happen. Also, this seam down here where these 2 pieces meet, this is where it makes it something that we need to do is actually take 2 clamps. And very gently, we're just going to put some clamps on here. Just want to gently pull this in. This is what really messes everyone up when they put this window in, because they say, oh, from the factory, no, this isn't bent right. It is bent right. You need to make it, the 2 pieces meet in the middle down here at the bottom. And you very gently, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this. I'm just using this to guide in the bracket or the frame on both sides. And that way I can just come in here and find the hole. Once we hand tighten all these, we'll come back and we'll actually put a dab of Loctite on it and then start Loctiting it down. Now this window, it's pretty fragile because it's aluminum. The frame is aluminum. So if you do want to do my method where you drill and tap it, you have to be very careful that you don't strip it while you're actually tapping the hole. It's actually pretty easy to do. Yeah, I know these windows are expensive, so it's not like you can practice before you go for it, but you might take a piece of like square aluminum tubing and just get some cheap stuff from Lowe's and drill and tap it a couple of times. If you get that cheap square tubing from Lowe's, it's really soft. So if you do a good job with the soft square tubing from Lowe's, then when you get to your window frame here, you'll be more confident that you can do a good job. If you can't get your screw in a couple times, you may want to take the tap and just chase the threads one more time. It's something I would suggest you do so that you don't strip. You don't strip the where you tapped. There was a comment that was made. They wanted to know why I didn't use panhead cap screws, or button head cap screws. It's because the socket head I can actually get my finger on to tighten, hand tighten. I can't do that with a button head, so that's why. Now you guys are going to say, Nick, you are 3 screws short, and yes, you are correct because I have some more ordered on the way, but today we're going with what we have. So in lieu of that, I'm going to put some extra washers on some of the long ones. And then all we'll do is we'll come back and we'll fix our little hiccup when the screws come in. I'm just putting an extra set of washers on here. One, it's just going to show me that that's the one that I need to take back out and redo. So we won't be using Loctite on them. Just as a little visual indicator. Also, if you are a DIYer and you're working on your van, don't worry about having to buy stuff a box at a time. Go to your local nut and bolt store. You know, if you need 30, just go ahead and get the box of 100. It's worth it. Okay, now we're just going to do one last hand tighten around the whole entire window frame. Take our clamps off. Gonna hop outside the van and let's take a look at what the compression looks like here on the outside. Now, one thing you'll notice is your corners are what you need to start to pay attention to. The corners are going to be where you're really going to want to make sure that you cinch down on those bolts or torque down on those bolts. Again, you don't want to overdo it, but all right, so now we're going to go through the process of putting the Loctite on. We're just going to come through and we put the Loctite on the end of the screw, or the tip, I guess would be an easier way of saying it. That way, as you put the screw in, it's going to go all the way down into the frame. So an interesting fact about Loctite is it's activated with the absence of air or oxygen. So even if you leave the Loctite bottle open, it's never going to dry. It'll always stay liquid. But when it gets in between the threads, it's starved of oxygen, and that's how it actually cures. So that's what I've been told about that, or that's what I read. Okay, so this one's empty. So one thing I would recommend is, or not recommend, is using red Loctite, which also goes by the term hydraulic Loctite, because it's going to be such a tight fit that you may strip the hole trying to get the red Loctite out. The red Loctite is the the permanent Loctite. That's what you would kind of classify it as. So we're also putting in these panels in temporarily, the van panels, the actual ones that will be upholstered. Because once we get these two windows in and we cut out the window for the door, we cut out the max fan and the roof AC, we'll let the lap sealant as well as whatever sealant or adhesive we're going to use to mount the adapter plates to the roof that we're getting from DIY Van. So we'll let all that cure, and then we'll take it outside and give it a rain test. So we'll wash the whole entire van down, and we'll do a leak test. Make sure there's no leaks, and then once we can check that off our list, there's no adjustments, but we can actually, we'll upholster the panels and just pop them right in since we know exactly where they go. And just whatever you do, the Loctite's going to make this screw go in easier. You're not going to want, just don't over tighten it and strip it. That's all I got to say. You can fix it. I mean, you can drill and retap another hole. The holes just won't be even. And if you guys know me, that's the OCD. That would bother the heck out of me. If you guys are listening and watching the live stream, you know, let me know if the audio sounds good. I'm using a new microphone pack. My other microphone is only lasting about an hour or so. All right, we've got them all in except for our three here that are not Loctite. We're going to replace them later once we get the correct length. But we're just going to kind of go and we're just going to start evenly compressing this. Now I would say I'm just coming through and turning this until I get the same resistance from each one. Now you could tighten this like you're doing car lug nuts, and, you know, go top left, bottom right. I don't feel that's necessary. You kind of pinch it. You're just kind of going in a circle. I know I'm being very technical about a van window, but don't have to take it that seriously. I just like to do it right the first time, and that way I never come back to it. Now, if you are taping the outside of the van to hold the window, one thing you're going to make sure that you want to do is don't have a piece of tape up underneath it. For example, like you put the tape on it and you forgot that the tape caught underneath the seal, and now you're squishing the piece of tape down. You don't want to do that. And use the short end of your Allen wrench. That way you can't put too much torque on it. Remember, it's not steel, it's aluminum, it's soft. You're going to get to a point to where it starts to bottom out and it's hard for your thumb to actually twist the Allen wrench. So that's a good thing. It's going to keep you from tightening it too tight. Okay. And so now it's really hard for my thumb to actually tighten these anymore. And that kind of feedback lets me know that I'm pretty much got these all as tight as I want them. And then I'm going to come back and just do maybe a little bit less than a quarter turn to seat them in there, and then we're done. That's where this thing's going to be forever. Okay, I'm going to make more pass. We're going to check on how it's pinching on the outside, and then we'll be done. Okay, so I'm gonna go outside the van, see how good we got it compressed. So now let's go through and do just almost a quarter turn here if we can. That's my last pass. Okay, we're going to take the tape off. Just make sure the window opens up okay. Then we get it just a little bit tighter. I actually have another van for reference, which is rare, so it's just a slightly more compressed than this one. Now, if you feel like you're going to strip it, stop. Don't keep going. Okay. So here we go. We're going to open the window. Okay, looks good. Do a final check, and we'll move on to the next part of our video tonight. Okay, how are we doing? Let's go to the next part of the video. We're going to get our window pill, and we're going to pop it onto the window here. So a window pill is a pill-shaped extension that helps you take up the difference between your van panel and where the window is. So this is our window pill, and I need masking tape. You can also tell how even you did it by this, how the other inner frame protrudes to the outer frame. Okay, so let's move into this next part. Now, this is how I actually located this window. So we're actually teaching you how this whole thing was aligned in the first place. So we're going to take our window pill. Now when you get it from AVC Rig, this is not a sponsored video. They're just giving you easy information to take in for a DIY van. So these window pills, they come in two pieces. One is because if you're doing a flat piece of wood, then this brings it out that distance. If you guys are doing actually, I take that back. They probably do this because the foam that they're cutting out is only 2 inches thick. That's probably why. So they just put on the CNC and they cut it out, and then they glue this piece of underlayment on the outside. That is what you're going to screw into to join it to the outer panel. So I've put right here top. That's my orientation. And so this fits cleanly right over the AW1033 window. And we're just going to locate it right here with some tape. And just do the same thing on the sides. And you'll see why in just a second. Now when I first installed this window, I got an 1/8" piece of aluminum, and I made sure that this piece of aluminum would go up here and it would provide my distance between my frame and the window. So now all I'm going to do is just come back in and reset that. And I'm actually going to leave that piece of aluminum in there. So that gives me some space so that when I wrap this in upholstery, I take up that difference, and it's one way that I set the height of my window initially. Because you want to make sure you have just wiggle room. You don't want to shove stuff all the way up to the top. It just makes it's more complicated. One thing that I've learned building vans is it's better to do it while you're, in the moment working on something. Anytime you go back and try to fix something later, it's a real pain because you'll either have the floor already in, you'll have panels already upholstered, you'll have wires ran, and if you have to do rework, it's not fun, because van building should be fun. Okay, so quick recap before I actually put the exterior panel on. We have an 1/8" spacer between so if you guys can imagine, this is the piece that was cut out. That 1/8" spacer goes on underneath wherever this bottom piece is. So that allows us so that our up and down of our window pill comes out the way it's supposed to. And then down here at the bottom, we'll have a same gap. Now, you can do as much as you want down here. You can cut this thing all the way off. I would not suggest that because this is what's left of the structure to your panel. Your awning window will reinforce it a little bit, but the more of these that you can have come right up to the window pill on each side and not be cut away adds to the strength of your panel. All right, so I have a special alignment bolt that I made so that when I put the panels on both sides of the van, they're equal. So I'm just hopping over here. Grabbing these bolts. So this is going to be hard to see on camera. I'm going to try to show you. But I have a stack of washers. And those stack of washers are going to be my offset of the panel. This will make sense here in a second. And then the outer fender washer is allowing this to go on top of the panel. So the inner washers make the panel, the height up and down work. Okay, let's go get our panel. So when you see this panel, you will say, Nick, why is this panel painted? Why did you paint this panel? So believe it or not, it actually makes this easier to upholster, because now you can upholster raw wood. There's no problem about it. There's no reason that you shouldn't. There's a ton of people that do it. The reason that I don't do it is because, one, I like to have some type of mold inhibitor on the panel so that just say something happened where you hit something, you dented the van, and somehow there's condensation, you wouldn't have to worry about mold until you took care of it. Whereas if you have a raw panel, it's going to soak in and start creating that. So it's just more for peace of mind, but it actually helps me with the upholstery because when I spray the adhesive on here, the adhesive doesn't soak into the wood. If the adhesive soaks into the wood, you have to use more adhesive, and it just takes longer to upholster the panels. So you win on not using a bunch of cans of upholstery adhesive and wasting money, but you also win because I can do 2 coats instead of 5. And I'm actually being serious about the 5. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've got your window pill. Now we're putting on the wall panel. And now you can see I've got, this is really cool. What ABC Rig does is they pre-cut out those holes so that you can adjust it. Now what I did was I set a home position for this panel. So I took this panel, I found out a home position based on how it interacts with the bottom panel and the right driver's side panel. Because remember, the van's a puzzle. If this puzzle piece is too big or too small, it's not going to fit with this one over here. So don't rush when you start these processes. It doesn't matter what vendor you're working with or what. Act like somebody didn't write the instructions. So when you put this panel in, get somebody to help you. Just temporarily put it in like I did. I drilled a screw hole here, here, and there. I put this panel up and hung it, and I said, okay, this panel likes to be a little bit to the left, and this one goes a little bit right. So when they're both in, this gap's going to be even. So I set that, and then I came down here, and I said, okay, how high does this need to be in order for this panel to fit down here? So that's where this bolt comes in that I made. So this right here is going to allow it to, it's always trying to look for my face. Those washers on the inside are going to set the height of this panel automatically. So I take this bolt, I push the panel up, and I, it's hand tighten, nothing crazy. And then I just let it fall down. So now this bolt has set my, there you go. So this bolt right here has set my height of the panel. So when I come down here and I push it in, notice how it's touching this panel. Okay. Okay, but wait. Next part. The next part you have to remember is let me get some other washers. Okay, I'm grabbing a drill and some washers. Give me 1 second. But what I'm going to show you is the panel actually bolts into the van, and it's not perfectly straight. It's actually going to have it's going to be concave. Yeah, concave, not convex, concave. Okay, got the drill, got the bolt. So if you guys don't know what fender washers are just some very fat, wide washers. They look like this. That's a fender washer. Okay, we're going to take that. Okay, there's nothing's permanent here. Okay, so we got our wall panel in. Now what I did earlier was I had two screws. I have one up here, two, actually I have three. So let me find my other ones. Here we go. So I've got these self-tapping truss head screws. And the self-tapping truss head looks like this. These cameras hate to do product stuff. Let's see, here we go. So see this? It's self-tapping at the bottom, and then this is called a truss head. If you've ever wondered, that's a truss head screw. So it's got a lot of surface area to bite into a panel. Don't be the person that uses drywall screws. We've all been there. At our house, we have a box of drywall screws. We got like 500, and we use them to hold everything together. You guys know who you are. God, I can't talk. Drywall screws are dangerous because they break off. The head breaks off really easily. Okay, so as you can see, I already know where these holes are because I pre-drilled them. But as soon as we put this in, okay, so now we can push our panel in just a little bit. We're going to tighten this right one. Try not to strip it, if it is possible. Okay, so see how this curved? Now this panel curved. Now if we come over here, tighten this one up, and then we finally come over here. I'm not stripping it, this drill has a clutch on it. Okay, I'll just tighten these up. And this one. Okay, so check this out. Our panel went into place. Now because we did all the layers of this sandwich in order, we did our window. Well, so the first thing we did the window peel. The window peel is what set our location of the window and the panel, which is kind of counterintuitive. So the window peel, because it can only go so high in the van, because you can't go higher or the van starts to curve and you get into the sheet metal. So we did the window peel as high as possible. We gave it 1/8 of an inch wiggle room for our upholstery when we wrap it around the top, so that's not changing our dimensions. So we taped it into place, and then what we did is we took our window out, put our main panel on, and we traced on the inside of this panel. And when we did that, that allowed us to find out where this is all landing. So because we did our homework and took our time, you see how just is a beautiful fit. It's the window's perfect, window peel is perfect. The cutout we did on the panel on the table, remember we didn't do it in here, we did it on the table with a jigsaw. Now that is actually perfect. So now all we have to do, and I'm going to just use a marker for, this is just example purposes, but you'd want to come in here and, you know, map out your center. So we got 34 inches, so is that 15, 16, 17? So 17 is our halfway point. Okay, so we come down from 17, come up here, come up from 17. All right, and then what do we got? We got 17. say 17 divided by 2, 16, 8.5. So we put a little screw there. Let's do 8.5. Okay, so my point is the height is 11. So 11, 5.5. Okay. I'm just doing this for an example. So for us to have these really neat screw holes to make us look like we did a great job, what we're going to do is we will come through here and we will drill this into our window pill when we're done. So once the window pill is fabricated or upholstered and this panel is upholstered, then we will actually go and put our final screw in. So the sneaky thing about thin wood and screws and stuff like that is we're going to want to pre-drill this hole, and in a perfect world we want to use a wood screw just so we don't strip this, because just like our awning frame, it's about looks. We want things to look nice. So we want to do one screw in each one of these. Maybe, well, I'll probably split the difference here and use 2 like that. Because you're going to have screw heads showing, and you might as well do it nice and neat and very even. Okay, so that is that. Now let's come over here while we're thinking about it. Let's actually talk about this. So this is what I'm going to propose to our customer, is that, let's see, we got 6.5. That's 6.5. Is that 13? That's 6. Yeah. 6.5. 6.5. So I probably want to tell them, and they may be watching the video right now, but since the bookshelf is going to be, not bookshelf, it's a storage shelf, since that's probably going to start right here where this lower angle iron is going to come out, visually I think halfway between the end of the van and here is a good spot, because we can't put it right here. There's a cross member coming straight down here. So we're probably going to have to put it right there. So if you guys are watching this live stream, we're probably going to want to put the window, or this light, probably going to want to put it right here. Something like that, right there in the center. That way it's nice and clean, just like that. Okay, that's where it'll go, and this way it can actually move out of the way, and then you can have it come back. I think that'll be really good. So that's a starting point, because you're going to be sleeping long ways. So that's a starting point from here. Because that angle bracket's going to be right here, it's probably, and the bookshelf's going to come out like that. This is probably going to be no place you're going to want it. So while we're talking about this, yeah, so hopefully this makes sense to you as far as how this whole entire thing got put together. But if you have any questions after this live stream is over, feel free to ask it in the chat. Okay, let's get back here. Let's talk about this light really quick while we're on the subject. So I've got a little battery over here. And I think I can connect it together. Take it off the charger. Okay, let's see if you guys can see that. Come on, get over there. Okay, we have a little test rig set up here. So here's our light. So we're going to be adding this to the Vanbuild DIY Vanbuild cheat sheet. Again, it's not sponsored. We'll talk about the cheat sheet here in just a second. But this is the 12-volt RV Flex LED reading light, and it's the brand. That's the brand. Ace Goo. All right, so here's the light. So it's this nice flexible light. It's actually pretty bright, as you guys can see. And so we have a button here at the end, so we can turn it off, turn it on, and I think if I double click it, let's see, off, on, there we go. So now it's red. It doesn't show a red, that's so weird. The camera doesn't show red. It's a red light. If you hold it down, so you hold down and then the red turns on. Turn the white on, hold down, and the white dims. And if you hold down again, the white gets brighter. Okay, and then if we turn it off, hold, red's on, hold again, red's off. I think red doesn't dim, just the white. And then last but not least, you have a really cool USB port down here to charge your phone, iPad, devices. And to be honest, this stem right here is very strong. So it stays put in all directions. And I think this thing is really affordable. It's only like 24 bucks or 25 bucks, something like that. Anyway, that's this light. Thought it'd be pretty cool to show you guys. All right, now let's go over here to the other side of the van. And let's lay out what we did on the right side of the driver's side of the van. So we're just going to quickly do this. And then we will end the live stream. But I definitely wanted to cover this before I went off because okay, let's kind of clean up our mess here. All right, so we're going to open up our box from AVC Rig. You'll see we have the opposite side of the van, we've got our other two pieces here. So we only want the piece with the wood frame. That's all we need to use as our template. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a permanent marker. And then we need to get, we're going to use a small straight edge. if I can figure out where I put my small straight edge. So we're going to come over here and we're going to get a nice even spot so that we make a mark going across, and it allows us so that when we go and take our grinder, everything is nice and clean. So we're just going to take a line, come straight across. So when we move this, I'm not sure if you guys can see that. See if I can zoom in just a little bit. There you go. So you see this line that I just made right here? So this line is what's going to be taken out of this. So this part, so you see that? So here, and we can even do this. We'll make a temporary line down here because we don't want to say that this is our line. So there's that. And now we take this off. We've made a mark down here. And that's our line that we'll cut here. And you'll see why in just a second. So next we're going to move along. We're going to skip the middle and we're going to go right here. I'll explain why in just a second. So again, we're going to put this up here. Make it so that our mark, when we cut it out and we follow this line, it's going to make this. So you want this part, you want this to be a continual line all the way down, all the way to here. This one is the most tricky. That's why you want to do these two first. So we do these two first for that reason. So that when we come in and take our ruler again, we can put it on both of those edges. And we can bear down. And trust me, it's tricky, even with me doing this. And we're going to come up here, or we're going to make a mark. Then we can come here, and all we're doing now is we're just cleaning up our mark that we cut. Then, fun part, just kind of connect the dots. So you want this one to be as perfect as you can get it. This one is where you're going to take that 1/8 inch piece of aluminum or something like this. And after you take your, after you cut this out and you put this up here, you'll be able to have a nice flush mount. The reason you want it flush is because when you take your window peel and after you cut out these pieces, so for example, we can just quickly take this piece, hold it up to the line, make our little two lines down here, this piece, your two lines, okay. That gives us a place to start from down there. Now, you'll take this. So once you cut these out, you'll put this up here. And you want to make sure that you've got that 1/8 inch gap at the top. And then down at the bottom, you've got enough wiggle room so that if you need to go up or down, you'll be good to go. Don't copy anything from that side to this side. You want to practice the habit of having the same methods for getting a measurement on the right side of the band as the left side. You don't want to just assume this is the right position and then go with that. because you just can't assume. It's possible Ford, you know, like the ribs up here, they might be off a little bit, so you need to just take the same approach. Now, let me get these pieces. Let me get this drawn out here. Now, this does not have to be perfectly level, but it will make your life easier when you go to grind it out, so that you're not second guessing yourself about how this is, you know, being grinded on. So let's see here. What do I got? I got 13 1/8. I've got 13 1/4. And I've got 13. So this one, I'll do 13 1/4. So you see, even though I used the pieces I cut out, they were off. Again, you just want some wiggle room here. Don't make it too tight, but you don't, the more metal you take away from these pieces, the more flex you're going to have in your side panel of your van. Okay, so now we're going to get to the point where we actually are going to, I'm going to cut one of these out. Actually, I'm going to do this whole, yeah, I think we can do the whole process. Do it live. So I'm going to put my microphone over here on the side because it's going to get very loud. So if you guys come back in the middle of the stream and wonder why it's so loud, this is why. So I'm going to put the microphone over here. Hop back in the van, and I'm going to cut these two pieces out. Yeah, I'm not sure how loud this is going to be, so you may want to turn your speakers down. PPE, when I do a face mask, there's a lot of dust, little fine dust that comes off of here. So this right here is a welding blanket. This can make sure that our sparks don't go on any of our plastic that we got in the van as we're grinding this out. So definitely make sure that you take your window pills and you move them out of the way so they're not in the way of your grinding. And we're going to try to grind this away from our computer as well. So when you have your grinder, you want to make sure that you don't want to let it dip all the way in. You want to stay on that edge until it feels kind of like butter, like you've cut through it, and then just slowly make your way this way. You just want to release this from itself. You don't want to go through the van. That would be very bad. But you cut on the top first, and then you'll fill up, release, and then that way you know you can continue on. coming back on the microphone. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me. And get out of all this PPE. And let's talk about what we just worked on. Speaking of PPE, you need to make sure you have some type of mask when you're working on that, because you're cutting up paint and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's a lot of metal in the air. Before I come over there, I need to pick up a chisel. So we're going to use a chisel to chisel off the all that adhesive, the foam adhesive that is actually gluing the believe it or not, you guys can see right here, this is the adhesive that holds the sheet metal to these ribs and keeps it from, essentially vibrating. So it kind of, it's insulative, but it also, it's an adhesive, believe it or not. And don't worry about scratching the paint. The reason is because you're going to cut this whole entire hole out. But what we need to do before we move forward to trace out where our window pill goes is we need to go ahead and clean this up. So we want a very clean surface to work with. So what we're doing is we're using a big wide chisel to get all of this out. Remember, we're going to rust prevent this. We're going to paint it. So you can do this fast. Doesn't have to be super neat. But it does need to be very flat, because we're going to not only are we going to take the window pill foam and do a trace, but once we trace it, we're going to sit our cardboard piece in there for our cardboard template for our AW1033 windows. You see how this thing makes it so nice. Now, be extremely careful. This stuff is so sharp. Before we start messing with it, I will get a, I'm gonna sand this off. Just a very rough sanding. I don't want to get the sander out because you guys are on video. But actually I need to get my Shop Fresh Air fan going here. Okay. All right. Also, we're doing this now because the van, we have the stock rubber floor, and just from my experience, leave the rubber floor in, keeps the fan floor flat. You're not scratching up the floor of the van, making it so you have to rust prevent it, you know. So all our filings are going down on the mat. So that's what I would recommend. All right, let's keep going here. Let's get our window template. Where is my marker? There we go. marker, and we're going to get our spacer, and we're going to get our cardboard template and our window peel. So all these tools here. Okay. So we've got the window peel. Let's take our wood section. Let me zoom out. You guys can actually see me here talk. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we've got our window peel. We're going to take it. The first thing we want to do is we've got a marked center point up here, and then we've got one right here. So that's the center of this rib. So next we're going to take our window peel, and let's take our measuring tape so we can find the center of it. So 36, what was that, 15, 67, 18? Is that right? So 18. So boom. Ah. Translate our mark to the top. Okay, so what we've done is we found the center of this. Found the center, we made a center mark here, here, and then we made a center mark up here on the top. And then we're going to take this, we're going to put it where we did our cutout. And then we're going to get our spacer. We're going to make sure that this top piece feels good. That's where it needs to be. Okay, we're just going to make a mark. And we're going to check our center line down here. It looks good. Now we're just making sure that we're not pinching anywhere. Make a mark there. Okay, so I'm just going to take this off for a second. Actually, hold on. So make a mark under the painted area that you didn't grind on. Okay? Just on each side. All right, we're going to measure where that painted area is. And I've got 1.25 inches. I'm going to come over here. I've got 1.25 inches. So to the van chassis itself, and yes, I know it's technically a unibody, but we're just going to call it the chassis. So I've measured this line and I've measured this line, And so now I know that my window pill is level to the van. That's important. Don't put a level up here and level it. You want it level to this piece of the van that you've cut out. And when we go to cut the window out later on the outside, you guys will know why we get the measurement that we get. Okay, so we're going to hold this here, and we're just going to go and trace. Now this is not our cutout trace. This trace is so we can take our actual template and we want to nest it in the center of these in the center of what we just drew. So I just traced out the inside of this. So I'm going to take it off. And you can see that is where, I wish we had a better camera angle. Try to move this. What is that all we got? Come on. That's a little bit better. Or maybe not. What do you guys think? Okay, there we go. Okay, so you see how we we cut this top out nice and even. Now I'm going to come back and sand this and clean this up. So it's going to be a little bit more flush. It won't affect this because we're not going to take that much material out. But this is our window pill. So now we have our window pill location. We have it centered. Now we can take our window template that we created. I have a separate video for this if you guys want to check it out. So this is going to go on the inside of this. And this is the one that we want to be just absolutely nice and even on both sides. Okay, so there's that. So what we need to do to make this happen is we need to get a piece of masking tape. And what I usually do is I just hang it from the middle here. So I have an arrow that shows me my center on the template itself. So that is about 99%. So let's get that taped up here. Okay, so now I can let this hang. Just visually checking to make sure we're good on each side. And we want to square this to the van. We're not squaring this to a level. The vans, if you took a level, a bubble level or whatever, digital, and you put it on here, the back of the van is always raised factory so that when you load it, the van rides level. So nothing's in the van, so the rear is going to be up higher. And so to make this level, you just don't use a level in the van. We're using our body lines and referencing off of each other. Okay, so that is, I'm pretty happy where that's at. So now we get to the picky side, and we're going to come in here, and we're actually going to, let's measure what we got over here. We got a 1/4 of an inch exactly from the cardboard edge to the outer edge of the Sharpie. You've got a 1/4 cardboard edge to the outer edge of the Sharpie line. Up top, we got an 1/8 of an inch. Bottom, we've got 1/8 of an inch. We'll just triple check. 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. And you're probably asking me, Nick, why is it 1/4 on the sides and 1/8? Well, AVC Rig just made this a little bit wider than my window template, which I think is to take into account the weirdness of the CRL window frame. So that's probably why. Okay, so this is here. So now, the next step, we're going to do this in a separate video because it's late, but this was my checklist for today. I need to make sure I got to this point. So this is our next step. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 drill bits and we're going to drill through each side. We do this, we talked about this in another video. This is I'm doing this video now because this is the live video of this process, not the theoretical video. So 2 drill bits. Then we're going to take this template, and then the way we translate it to the outside of the van to make our cut line is we'll take the drill bits out, move this to the outside of the van, put the drill bits back in. They're like dowels. So this template is going to come and slide over those dowels, and it'll be the exact position it was here will be the exact position that it goes on to the outside of the van. Now, a viewer said, Nick, why don't you just drill a hole in the middle, and that way you can go in the outside of the van and you can level it. So that is you can do that. That's an option. But for me, I do it this way so that I'm perfectly even on the inside. And then on the outside, if there's some weird thing that's off, yes, I will correct for that. But this is where I want to be, and this is kind of my method for doing it. So the next video tomorrow, try to do maybe an earlier live stream. That way you guys can catch this before I clean this all up to get ready for the roof AC. I'll go ahead and drill these 2 tomorrow. I'll cut this out. We'll rust prevent everything. We'll clean everything up. And then we'll, we actually might put the panel on, the wall panel, trace it, and get it like this other side that we did. So that will be, that'll be the goal tomorrow before we actually get to the AC, which is pretty exciting. So, all right, guys, let's wrap this video up. Why don't you say, let's wrap it up. So, zooming back out. There we go. All right. Get this camera even here. All right, let's look in the van and see what we did. So if we go in the van, we have our panel over here that we put in. We went through the process of putting the window in, torquing it down with all our bolts with Loctite. We put our window pill in and our panel in temporarily because we need to mount our light. So we'll check that off when we get back to that. We came over here, we taught you guys how to cut out these ribs so that you can have a nice flush mount to do your template on. Make sure you guys have a really nice chisel to get that off. Don't worry about scratching it. When you're cutting, let's talk about a couple tips on this guy. So this is the Milwaukee Fuel M12. Right there, M12. And let's see if we can get the part number on there. Maybe it'll do that. Okay, there's your cutoff tool. This thing is awesome. It's also extremely safe. Now, okay, this is dangerous, but it's safe because if you notice when I was cutting, every time it gets something and the torque is too high, it'll cut itself off. It auto brakes when it finds itself in a jam, so it doesn't twist your wrist off. The motor will just stop, and then you'll have to speed it back up and then go back and do it. It has it does forward and reverse, so if you want, that basically means you want the sparks going this way or the sparks going that way, depending on how you're cutting. That is a welding blanket that I put in there, and I got it so that it catches all the sparks and it doesn't hit the plastic that I have sealing off the main cabin of the van. So it catches all the sparks, the plastic never gets touched. The plastic's just for dust, so it doesn't get on the front of the van. Always seal the front of the van up. But this tool is how I cut it out. It's so easy, it's easy to grip. If you use a big handheld grinder, it's just a pain in the butt. If you notice how I use this, I'll put my hand like this. And I know it'll make my hands look weird when I'm cutting with this, but I'm telling you, you can hold it like this and then grab the bottom and then take your hand and then hold the van, and you can guide it really safely. So if it jerks like this. And because if it's like this, you can jerk it and you don't want it going off like into your face. You want two hands on here going nice and easy. And take your time. These little batteries, they're not good. They last, as you saw, pretty much each rib. If I don't have a full charge on all the batteries, I might use one of these little tiny batteries per rib. So you saw me probably change it 2 or 3 times. But definitely use this. This is a great tool, something that I recommend that you guys get. The other M12 tool is this drill. So I use this drill to, drill these panels up. It's got a variable speed. It's got a clutch on it, which is really good for vans so you don't over torque something and strip it. It's also very small. It's easy to get in tight places. It's got a quick change bit at the top. And I use this also for installing Adventure Wagon socket head cap screws. I'll put some extensions on here. And it's just a quick way to drill all kinds of stuff in the van so you don't waste time using a wrench. So I use those 2 things. Let's see what else. We took our LED. So this is the LED light that we worked on or talked about. So we will install that next time. Put it back in its box so it doesn't get all scratched up. And then finally we have our window pill from AVC Rig. That was our template that went on there. We took the big oval, offset it, and then we went back in and we took our template and nested it in the center of all those lines. Now it's got it to a place where we can move forward and go to the next step. Let's finally close this video and talk about our DIY van build cheat sheet. So if you guys are looking at any of the stuff on that I've been showing you, like the tools, all that kind of stuff, I have put all that into an Excel document. It's called the DIY Van Build Cheat Sheet, and this Excel document is it's the last 3 years of my Amazon purchases. There's over 250 items on this curated list, from electrical to fasteners, hardware, HVAC, like the Max fan, for example, insulation. We've got kitchen stuff like the induction cooktop that I like to use, roofing, for example, like the cable seal connectors for certain wires and stuff like that on the top. We've got solar panels, solar connectors, branch adapters, some Renogy accessories and products such as solar panels. And then my favorite part of this whole entire list is the tool section. So these are all the weird tools that I use. So like certain carbide drill bits. We've got rivet nut drill adapter. So that's going to put your plus nuts and riv nuts and install them into the van. We've got soldering stations for some 12-volt wires, such as soldering LEDs. The Propex expansion tool kit. That's an expensive kit, but that kit is going to allow you to put in PEX A very quickly and professionally in your van when you're doing your plumbing system. We've got some water system stuff from like Rec Pro. We've got a tank heater, even a sink and a water pump. So all kinds of stuff on here. It's all organized. You can actually just hit like Control F and type in like pump, and it's going to go right to the water pump. And then you can go here, hover over it, you're going to see the water pump, and it has the Amazon link with it as well. So the best part is this cheat sheet is completely free. All you can do is put your name and email address. It'll be sent directly to your inbox, and I really think it's going to help you out on your DIY van build. We're always updating it, and it's always getting new products, so you'll be updated as well when we get new stuff on that list. So check it out, DIY Van Build Cheat Sheet. You can get it at the link in the description below, or go to vanbuilderhq.com and you can sign up there. Next, let's talk about Odyssey Custom Vans. That's my professional van building business, the business that is right behind me, this van that we're building. The van that's on your screen right now is the van that we have currently for sale. So it's an all-wheel drive Ford Transit, high roof, 148-inch, and it is completely decked out. We have a video where we took it to an Adventure Van Expo in Chattanooga, Tennessee to show it off to everyone. If you want to check out all of the items in this van, including the off-grid power system and a lot of the other components that are in this van, go to odysseycustomvans.com and check it out. We've got the Dometic RTX 2000 12-volt AC system installed in this van, as well as the Max Fan 7500K. It also has the Webasto Airtop Evo 40 altitude adjustable gasoline heater that's connected to the Ford auxiliary port, so it goes directly to your gasoline tank. You don't have a separate tank to have to add fuel in a separate place. We have the Scopima swivel seats, both passenger and driver. A lot of Flatline Vanco accessories, such as the kitchen galleys, the adjustable and removable bed system, as well as the heavy-duty drawer side slide-out tray, which is in this bottom picture right here. But check it out. We've got a bunch of pictures on the van so you guys can get a feel for what we've done to it, the accessories that we have put on this van. The wheels have been powder coated. So we powder coated the factory wheels so we can make sure we had the same alignment, but we also give them a nice aggressive look. It has all CRL windows, including the awning style windows, both passenger and driver T-vent windows. We've got a Rivati sink, and we also have a Tetravan hidden shower pan in the bottom of the van. And that Tetravan has its own dedicated 16-gallon gray water tank. We've got 420 watts of solar on top of the roof, and we're able to fit that Dometic and the Max Fan, as well as a Fiamma F45S awning. Inside, we've got really, really cool features. We've got bamboo ceiling from Adventure Wagon. This has a full Adventure Wagon interior kit in this van. So full Adventure Wagon interior with all the L-track you could ever need. We have Adventure Wagon compatible components such as the Flatline Vanco upper cabinets. If you go down here in the bottom, we've got an awesome custom power system, 600 amp hours of lithium iron phosphate. Here's an interior photo just to give you an idea of the feel. Lots of bamboo, nice dark grays and powder coated black. Really cool vibe. The flip and fold seat is from Friedman Seating. And so that flip and fold seat, if I can find a photo of it, this is going to allow you to have 2 additional passengers with seat belts. When they're not there, you can flip it up out of the way. You regain your space back in the van. Make sure, I gotta mention, the Isotherm Cruise 130 stainless steel fridge. Huge fridge. We custom modified a Flatline Vanco kitchen galley cabinet to fit it in there. and it is a super clean install. Here's another view. The bed is fully removable. If you wanted to pick up and put some more materials in your van, you're picking up lumber or some furniture, you can reclaim that space in the back and use it as a cargo van. And then here is that photo of the Fiamma F45S awning coming out of the van. And then we have a amber rigid scene light for our exterior light to light up underneath the awning while you're outside. I like the amber color. It's much softer than the white. The white light is a little bit harsh at nighttime. The amber does a great job of making it nice and comfortable to hang out outside your van. The German Shepherd is not included, but if you do want to get in touch with me, you can contact sales@odysseycustomvans.com. This is my phone number. And down here we have click to schedule a call. So if you're interested in purchasing this van, come down here and click on the link. It's going to take you to the scheduler. You have full access to my calendar. You can click on a day, pick a time that's most convenient for you. We'll hop on a phone call, go over all the details on this van if you're interested in purchasing it. So this van is currently for sale at the time of filming this video. If you're not interested in this van and you want to do your own custom van like we're doing with the van behind me, come over here to the left side. It's going to show you how to hop on a phone call, get started with a consultation with me. Do the same thing, hop onto the calendar, click on the time, book the appointment. It'll come right to my calendar and we'll hop on a call and talk about your future custom van build with Odyssey Custom Vans. All right, guys, that's it for our live stream tonight. If you guys are not already subscribed, click that subscribe button. Thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. If somebody is building their own DIY van and they're working on the windows that we just did tonight, make sure you forward this link, click the share button, send this video to them. I really think it'll help them out. And as always, the comments section. If you have any question, put that in the comments section. I'd be happy to answer it for you. And we also use that for titles of future videos. So anything you want to ask, put that in the comment section below, and I'll take a look at it, answer those questions, and get back with you. That's it for our live stream tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Join us next time where we are going to be finishing this window on this passenger side. We're going to be cutting it out, doing our rust preventative, and doing the same thing that we did over here. And we're really excited to announce that, fingers crossed, the shipment of our Nomadic Cooling 48 volt AC unit is going to show up tomorrow. So stick around, check out the channel for updates, and we'll see you guys on the next live stream.